Hello, hello. Welcome to episode 17. It's good to have you back. Last time we learned a little bit about Lord Godfrey and his tarnished legions, which were shooed out of the lands between, sent to go campaign elsewhere, and would later be called back to the lands between. We are one such tarnished. Whether we were actually with the legions of Lord Godfrey, seems questionable. We are likely a descendant of one such individual. And now we find ourselves in the Weeping Peninsula today, the Tombsward Catacombs, and we see a patch of deathroot covered in those awful, icky eyebrows, and even a spider web indicating it's been here for some time. Let's see, if we remind ourselves with deathroot, a source that gives rise to those who live in death. On the night of the dire plot of the stolen rune of death, on the night of the dire plot, the stolen rune of death enabled the first death of a demigod. Later, the rune of death spread across the lands between through the underground roots of the great tree, sprouting in the form of deathroot. We also know, thanks to the root resin, resin secreted from the roots of the great tree can also be found near trees on the surface. The roots of the great tree were once linked to those of the Erd tree, or so they say, and it is for this reason that catacombs are built around great tree roots, right? What else? At the Church of Pilgrimage last time, we found a centipede. I said I'd look at it. I didn't. I'm so darn forgetful. A golden desiccated remains of a centipede, material used for crafting items, kept as a fetish by the Golden Order fundamentalists, especially the hunters of those who live in death. As such, they're found near churches and similar. Seems interesting. It's for those who hunt the undead, and we found it around the statue at the Church of Pilgrimage for a man we do not know yet, but it is associated with Golden Order fundamentalists. We have all sorts of bones here. And I'll be darned, those who live in death. I think it's kind of fun that the patch of deathroot on the wall is an indicator of what kind of enemy we will find ourselves dealing with. Okay. A record of crafting techniques left by roaming nomad warriors contains knowledge for surviving in the face of utter scarcity. Ranker pot. We can make ranker pots now. What is a ranker pot? Come on, there it is. Okay, craftable item, prepared using a cracked pot. Enchanted by the ancient death hex. Consumes focus points, throw at enemies to spawn vengeful spirits that chase down foes. In times of old, the dead were burned with ghost flame, and from those cinders arose vengeful spirits. So we want to see what one of these bad boys looks like. It takes a combination of int and faith. I don't think I've ever seriously used these. To be fair, having a build that uses int and faith is kind of dangerous, but it works pretty well, I'd say. But there's one thing I would like to point out when I throw it. I want you to watch carefully if you can. If you are simply listening, I understand it, I'll describe it to you. But while we're throwing the ranker pot, we see a white sigil. It's like a ring, and on one half of the ring, it's just covered with strike-through marks. And it seems interesting to me that we find those who live in death. And the only thing I can liken that symbol to is, it's like a bug. Like a long-legged bug. Almost like that golden centipede we found last time. So it seems interesting that it's a symbol not only of those who are dead, but those who hunt the dead. Take out some skeletons. Here's so much easier if you have a blunt implement. Nothing? Okay. Whew. Not parrying today. Wow. The war pick really does not do as well without being infused with holy. I feel like this is a trap room. I guess not. There he is. Nice and solved. Okay. And here we hear the rushing of flames. So over there we have our troublemaker. And we have Margit's shackle that we got all the way from Patches. A fetish bathed in golden magic. Shackles were used to bind the accursed people called the Omen. And these were once made to keep particular Omen under strictest confinement. Though faint, the shackles still remain Though faint, the shackles still retain vestiges of power, enough to trap the once bound Margit on Earth, if only for a short time. We haven't met Margit. We don't know who that is, and we're not certain what an Omen is. But I do know that if you use the shackle, you can knock down pillars and traps like that from distance. It'll also dispel illusory walls. It's a bug, an exploit. It seems that the Margit shackle has really long range and a 0 damage when it hits everything around it, which normally wouldn't do anything, except for all those illusory walls that these trap pillars need is some sort of hit marker to be activated and to either lower or raise depending on which position they are in. Rude. My goodness. Even if you aren't a faith build early on, I'd put Sacred Blade on something. Anything. Something blunt, probably. Maybe that club you can get early on in Limgrave from the Merchant. I should take a look at that club again. I it just makes me laugh because it's a silly looking weapon and then it's just got the wrist loop around it. Like at the bottom. Like it's a Wiimote and you might throw it if you're just going too hard with it. Oh, here's another funny thing. If you're crouching and you want to drink one of each kind of flask and you do it in rapid succession, it just swaps color like that. And if you're better with your inputs than I am, then you can see that it drinks it really fast. While if you try to do one the other while standing, it takes longer. I'll show the animation in a moment when I get to a Site of Grace. It's an interesting little tidbit. Alright, here we have the end of our catacomb. Another one of those spooky skeletons holding a crozier. It makes me wonder... Oh, there's another patch of death root on the wall there. Because we associate skeletons with those who live in death, right? The undead. They're unnatural. They were spawned into the world when somebody stole the Rune of Death on the Black Knives, right? They are a relatively recent phenomena in the world of the Lands Between. Or of the world of Elden Ring, I should say. And so it makes me wonder what the skeleton icon meant. What it stood for before the undead came about. Because those statues, I don't think they'd be put here by the undead. It doesn't make too much sense. They seem to have bigger fish to fry. Okay, so if you try to drink one of each flask really quickly, your character dips his hand to grab the other flask, right? Makes sense, but if you're crouching, see, you can drink one and the other really fast. Well, a bit faster. Now, the downside to that trick is that you have to crouch, which slows your movement, which may not be ideal. But I found in PvP situations, if you take a moment to crouch behind a wall or something away from foes and you need to pop one of each, that's the way to do it. Okay. Cemetery Shade. And Engvall can basically do this for us. I don't know why I'm parrying at nothing. I'm trying to do Sacred Blade. There we go. Oh, and he is very weak to that. Come on, give me a smack. I want to see if I can parry. Engvall wasn't about that. That was a very strange monster. A black silhouette. And it looked like he had tendrils on his head. I shouldn't have summoned Angvel. I should have given it more time. I would recommend looking up a video. Maybe I'll link it in the description for this particular video. But a YouTuber by the name of Zully the Witch does a little bit of a explanation on the Cemetery Shade visually, because it's just so dark. Its character model, right? But if you were to look closely, it kind of looks like a weird spider thing is latched to its head. And that's the thing controlling it. It's essentially a desiccated corpse. And then its weapons are these hinged, curved blades. Kind of like a mantis. Has his arms. Alright, so we found, before I forget, the ashes of Lutel the Headless. A legendary ashen remains, right? A spirit of a headless knight who led the mausoleum soldiers. Okay, so we saw the word mausoleum one other time at the Church of Pilgrimage, right? Referring to the soulless demigods, right? A spirit of a headless knight who leads the mausoleum soldiers, wields a lance enrobed in death, and hurls spectral lances at foes. Lutel sacrificed her life so that in death she could continue to protect a soulless demigod until the revival, earning her the hero's honor of Erdtree burial. Okay, very good. So now we get to explore the western portion of the Weeping Peninsula. Actually, not just yet. I was mistaken. Now we're going to go to the top of the plateau. I probably should have did one of the other options, or I should have touched the little blue light at the end of the catacomb, but oh well. We have our supplies back. We're gonna go to that minor Erdtree. I believe it was 2, if not 3 episodes ago. We took a look. I think it was 2 episodes ago. We took a look across the chasm from the Ailing village, and we saw a large wooden figure. And so we are going to do so again. I love that when they don't notice. Just like, I don't know, it just looks goofy to me. It cracks me up every time. Okay, so here we have a Stake of Marika, a summoning pool for friends. We have a boss over there. I think I've essentially showed off everyone in this lineup. I wish I had slightly more mana for Lutel the Headless. We'll have to show her off at a different time. I'm just gonna summon Ingval again. But I recommend for this boss that you have plenty of fire pots. And oh, I don't know, a fire weapon. A weapon that you can put fire on at the very least. Alright, and for any of those of you familiar with the Dark Souls games, the Erdtree avatar has almost exactly the moveset from the Asylum Demon at the tutorial of Dark Souls 1 specifically. And as you saw, that fire pot did a huge amount of damage. Ooh, I rolled way too early because I panicked. It's okay, Ingval will draw the attention for now. If we want to make the fight simple, we could just lay on the pots. And the Erdtree avatar is gone. You can take a look at its staff, but it looks like it has Erdtree iconography on it. Kind of interesting that they have a staff with a little, or a gold, massive Erdtree at the top of it. But here we find the Opaline Bubble Tier and the Crimson Burst Bubble Tier. So we'll take a look at those. So the Crimson Burst, as opposed to the regular Crimson Crystal Tier, heals you over time. And then the Opaline Bubble Tier gives you super high damage negation, but only for one single attack. Okay. Alright, let's take a look around before I just get obsessed with going to the next item on the agenda. But we met Iron Fist Alexander. I had to do a cutaway for that. And he was a pot with arms and legs and a wax seal on top. And here we see all sorts of these pots. All over the place. Cracked. No arms and legs from what I can tell. But they still have these patches on the side. kind of like where Iron Fist Alexander's arms attach. So maybe their arms are biological and they've wasted away, and these are essentially their bones. Hard to say. Oh, this one has a... It almost looks like it's made out of the same material as the rest of the pot, but that's the Erd Tree crest that we see there. Big old tree emblazoned on it. And so we know that when we go to the roots of the Erd Trees, we see bodies heaped together. Or maybe the roots of the Great Tree if we want to make a distinction, right? But they seem to be grafted. And here we have a minor Erd Tree, right? It could be its roots that are in the Tombsword Catacombs, or it could be the roots of the Erd Tree all the way off in the distance, right? So what are these pots for? Well, pots are meant for holding stuff. That's an easy given. And a pot like Alexander can hold a lot of something and cart it around. So it makes me wonder if at one point in time, these living pots, if they were all living, it seems to stand to reason that these things are in some way connected to Alexander, that they would cart something, possibly to the minor Erd Tree. Now, what would a minor Erd Tree need if it doesn't have its own root system, like all the catacombs across the world, like the roots of the Great Tree for the Erd Tree? Well, what if they're bringing bodies? What if they're bringing sustenance, nutrients, so that this minor Erd Tree can thrive? Who knows? Maybe they were just pots full of water and I'm being too grim about it, but the Weeping Peninsula does not seem to have trouble with rainfall, so maybe I presume they are bringing some sort of fertilizer to the minor Erd Trees, since they do not have that complex and vast system of roots on their own. Okay. Now that we've cleared the minor Erd Tree, we still have about 15 minutes left of the episode. Let's go start exploring the western portion of the Weeping Peninsula. So come over here, whole herd of goats, and there we see something unique. We see a tower on struts. Pillars, supports, they seem a little bendy. Seems like it would be mighty difficult to try to get that up there. Right? Who would take the time to quarry all that stone up on top of a bizarre structure like that? Almost like it was piled there intentionally. As we get a little closer, we see... You can only see the edge of it now. But I'm going to pull out my looking glass before we get too close to it. And we see it's got a bell. Yeah, that's good. It's got a big old hanging bell. And even a tree. Almost like somebody animated the life underneath this structure. And it stood up on legs made of stone. Not that that was placed up there. Very unnatural. Here we have a whole slew of ruins. Got a rat. He was eating the beast liver that poor man was holding. Isn't there another rat? I thought there was more rats. Some tasty Trina lilies. Trina lilies are fantastic. Get them where you can. Being able to make sleep arrows or sleep pots is fantastic. Sporific grease is a grease you can make that does the sleep ailment like I can do fire. Ouch. Oh boy, I do not know their timing. There we go. You see these figures down here with S-talks and crossbows, covered faces. We found the hood and the pants on that one. Guess I didn't need to farm for them earlier. So we'll take a look at those, actually, before we loot the treasure chest. Give us some nice lighting in here. Harsh lighting, but lighting nonetheless. And so we have the page hood. Trousers. Garb, and I don't think they have gloves. This is kind of what they're wearing. Let's take a look at the descriptions. A hood worn by pages who serve the nobility and are mindful to keep them out of harm's way. The unassuming sack-like appearance befits their unseen and unknown stature. So you're meant to be invisible. Here, wear this sackcloth. It's interesting that their chest piece is a lot nicer than the sackcloth they wear over their head. Just kind of a clash, you know? Wonder what that wood icon is hanging from a necklace. It almost looks like a tiny telescope, but there's no lens in the bottom. Interesting. Alright. Let's see. Garb worn by pages who serve the nobility and are mindful to keep them out of harm's way. Traveling wear tailored with exquisite precision to avoid any undue shame for the page's master. So you wear the sackcloth over your head because you're not meant to be seen. But we don't want to say that we're poor or cheap, so we give you a nice tunic. Trousers worn by pages who serve nobility. I already read that on the other descriptions. Traveling wear tailored with exquisite precision. So even the boots and pants are supposed to be nice. So, kind of funny to me that they take the time to cover their faces, but you know, wear a nice tunic, wear some nice pants, good boots, you know. But don't you dare show that face of yours. We do not want to see that mug around here. And we found the winged scythe. I'm gonna go top side. I like the natural light slightly more. There we go. And here we have a very silly looking scythe. It looks like it has 2 wings. If that's supposed to be a blade, that would be a pain to sharpen and probably horrible for actual combat. Seems ceremonial at best. Has a hexagonal pattern or shape on the top there. I want to know what that icon is on the top. Kind of looks like just a cross and some lines. Nothing really super distinct. Seems interesting that it seems to have natural vines twirling around the shaft of wood. Oh, wait, there's a little lady at the top there. Is that a lady? It's a robed figure, to say the least. Maybe I'm a little early in me trying to diagnose the gender. Yeah, there's little figures on it. Robed figures. Let's read its description. Sacred scythe, resembling a pair of white wings, deals holy damage. According to pagan belief, white-winged maidens were said to be death's gentle envoys. Okay, so we have a pagan belief, not sanctioned by the Erd Tree in any way. Alright, there is a grace over here I would like to grab. Oh, wait. Before I leave these ruins, I almost always forget. On almost every playthrough, I almost always forget. I'll use a real man's scythe for this one. There's a beetle up on this ruin. There we go. And he gives the Divine Fortification incantation. Right? Let's take a look at that. Incantation of the Two Fingers Faithful increases holy damage negation. This incantation can be cast while in motion. Follow the path that has been set for you, and you will make enemies of all others. The monks, the sorcerers, the ancient dragon knights, and the scions of gold. Heed me, the lands between offers no welcome to the tarnished. Interesting. It's very interesting because we see different factions: monks, sorcerers, ancient dragon knights, scions of gold, right? But it's a spell for holy damage negation, which kind of implies you're fighting the Golden Order. That's where you would want it most, right? Perhaps the Golden Scions might use holy to some capacity. But would the others? Strange indeed. Okay. Now we're going to make our way back across. Oh, now we see that the mausoleum is walking and ringing its bell. And here we see headless soldiers like Lutel. We'll slay a group of them, why not? Whew. Scythe is a bit slow, but it hits hard, stumbles, and hits the enemy guard. So their shields, they do nothing. Well, not nothing. They do a lot less. And we do have some of their clothes to show off as I'm going up to this Ever Jail. So we have one of my favorite chest pieces, the Mausoleum Surcoat. Mausoleum Gauntlets. And the Mausoleum Greaves. Very nice looking outfit. The fashion actually doesn't look too bad with Foreman Sieghelm's bandage wrap face, right? Well, let's take a look at these. Armor worn by headless soldiers who endlessly guard the wandering mausoleum. Their surcoat depicts a mausoleum bell, which rings in constant mourning for the soulless demigods. Rust-worn and stained through the unending conflict. Interesting. Yeah, it says it says gauntlets worn by headless soldiers who endlessly guard the wandering mausoleum, rust-worn and stained through the unending conflict. And it's funny because the gauntlets for the Godric soldiers end the same way, as if the mausoleum soldiers had much to do with the Shattering War. So we've seen whistles and bells have some capacity to summon spirits in this world, and so it seems interesting that they would construct the biggest bell imaginable and stick it on the mausoleum to ring all the time in the faint hopes that they could bring back the soulless demigod, or that it houses the body of the soulless demigod, or what have you, that we heard from the ghost, right? So it seems that they're trying to do something about the demigods who are soulless. It's just an interesting through line there. We'll look at a little deeper into it when we get up to it, but bigger bell means harder to get spirits. Are the demigods who are soulless truly soulless, or is their soul lost? Hard to say. I don't know. I just am a humble foreman. Can I even... No, that is way too heavy. Funny, though. I'm trying to think of what to use. Let's do a lance. Yeah, we'll try this outfit out, and then we will switch back. Okay, what is in my wondrous physic? Boost to strength, boost charge attack power. I guess we could try charge attacks. I just feel like it's not going to be too helpful in this guy. But we will give it a go. So we enter this Everjail, and I don't have a whole lot of time, but I'll try to beat him before we run out of time on the episode. Don't worry, I'll go a little long if needs be. Okay. Here goes nothing. I haven't fought one of these guys in a bit, so... Whew. Take him to heal up. Come here. Oh, it hit him. Good. And so he's now buffed their weapon. The ancient hero of Zamor. Long fluid attack patterns. And that quick step is very useful. That's an explosion. I was like, that's not the attack I was looking for. That's the attack I'm looking for. Whew. That frostbite's getting pretty high. Dang it. I'm trying too hard for charge attacks. I need to go for light attacks. Ooh, that did great damage. Oh, come now. So close. And they're gonna input dodge, right? Oh, nope, not at all. It worked. We did it. The day is saved. We defeated the hero of Zamor, and they dropped the Radigan Scar Seal. Who is a Radigan, and why does they Scar Seal? Alright, we won't cut immediately. Don't worry, we'll look at the item. But it seems that these Everjails are filled with dissidents. We saw Darrowil over here with Blythe's quest line. And we saw the ancient hero of Zamor. And They must be put away for some reason. Why are they jailed? Let's take a look at this item. Raises attributes, but also increases damage taken. An eye engraved with an Elden rune. Said to be the seal of King Consort Radigan. Okay. Where did I just drop to? I had somebody mention to me that it gives me anxiety every time I read descriptions with the menu up. And it's like, I'm trying to keep the pacing of the video up, darn it. Okay. Said to be the seal of King Consort Radigan. Raises vigor, endurance, strength, dexterity, but also increases damage taken. We can see by swapping. It raises all three of those. Sorry, it raises those 4 attributes by 3 points each. The seal represents the lifelong duty of those chosen by the gods. The counterpoint to wearing this, though, or the drawback rather, is that we lose damage negation. So we're wearing some okay armor right now. If we look at our damage negation over there on the right, we see the numbers and then the percentages of how much we resist. Seems that everything except for lightning is somewhere between the range of 20 to 29 with fire, right? And that's because of the rain right now. If we were to put that item on, raises all those stats by 3 each, which is 12 virtual levels, which is very nice, right? But if we look at our status, all of them suddenly drop. It seems like a lot of them dropped by 5 or more %. Crazy. Our lightning resistance is nil, though. It went from 10% to 2%, essentially. But we get a lot of levels, so, or virtual levels. Very nice. But it's interesting to note that with the Radigan Scar Seal, that it's got that trellis shape that we saw earlier. That lattice, I should say. Well, both are vaguely accurate. That we saw over here at the Church of Pilgrimage. So we'll go take a look at that real fast. Is there a dialogue here at this site of grace? There is not, but we can upgrade our flask again, because why not? Another statue of Queen Marika, the Eternal. A nice looking church, but it's still got that brickwork, those pillars, those columns. We'll keep an eye on these, though. They will become relevant later. But before I lose track, Church of Pilgrimage, we'll go back real fast. And there we see the trellis, the lattice work behind him. The statue. We know that it's a Radigan Scar Seal. Said to be the seal of King Consort Radigan. So if that is his symbol, then this is King Consort Radigan. Consort 2? Well, if he's king, and he's notable, and he has anything to do with Queen Marika, I suppose he'd be consort to Queen Marika. Well, this is a Radigan fellow, right? Who the heck is Lord Godfrey? He was also has some connection to the Golden Lineage, and the Golden Lineage has demigods. So are Radigan and Godfrey mortals that have that are consorts to gods? Right? Who are they consorts to? Are they consorts to Queen Marika or someone else? Given that his church here seems to be in much the same style of all the other churches, it seems that there seems to be a positive link between Queen Marika and Radigan, right? Whoever this Radigan fellow is. But it's difficult to ascertain what sort of connection. It doesn't seem abundantly clear whether or not icons have been replaced in any of these churches. We will see a little bit of iconographic replacement happening in later pieces or later pieces of architecture throughout the world. But here it does not seem too apparent. So I am willing to believe that there is a friendly relationship between King Consort Radigan and Queen Marika. And Queen Marika, even though she drove Radigan out of the land, let me start over. I'm just miserable at this, right? So it seems that there's some sort of friendly relationship between King Consort Radigan and Queen Marika. Whether or not he is her consort, it's hard to say. I wouldn't make that leap just yet. As for Lord Godfrey, right? Both of these are lords. It seems like of some capacity. Godfrey was chased from the lands between. He took his Tarnished with him. He went on campaigns for Queen Marika, and eventually was sent across the sea outside of the lands between for his the descendants of his men, the Tarnished, to be called back to the lands between. We know that the Golden Lineage has demigods, and so it seems that if Lord Godfrey is not a demigod himself, or not a god himself, that he must have fraternized with one to produce the Golden Lineage. We don't know anything about whether or not Ratigan has a lineage, but considering he is called a consort, it wouldn't surprise me. We will learn more about this at a later date. I'm excited. I might need to put together some sort of family tree or a tree of connections between characters to kind of piece it all together, but we're getting hints. We're getting starts. So I thank you for joining me today. We ran a little bit long, but I wanted to finish my thought. Ending too abruptly is probably bad for the flow of these episodes. We don't have we don't have too much left of the Weeping Peninsula. Hopefully we'll knock it out of the park next time. Thank you for being with me today, and I hope you have a good day. Bye-bye.